What is up, you guys? In today's video, I'm going to give you my top 5 mistakes that I made while growing my woodworking business. Let's dive in. All right, welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to the podcast. As always, I'm so glad that you're here, and I'm your host, Zach Vaught. And in today's video, I want to walk you through the top 5 mistakes that I made while I was scaling my woodworking business. And hopefully this can prevent you from making the same mistake. So let's dive right in. The number one mistake that I made when I really started growing and started having employees and more overhead was that I did not anticipate and prepare for slow seasons. I did not anticipate and prepare for slow seasons. So what does that mean? In my industry, in the custom furniture industry, typically all year long is really good. Typically from about late January all the way to early December or maybe late November tends to be pretty good. But there's a massive slowdown, a massive slow season in December and January typically. And so if you do not prepare for that slow season, it can really bite you in the rear end. And what do I mean by that? Well, when your cash dries up, you're not getting the sales that you're used to getting. And the only way that you can keep the business alive is by getting more and more produced. The first season that came around where I had multiple employees, I was in a commercial space. We had a lot of money flowing in and out of the business every month. I wasn't ready. And so I had to put a bunch of expenses on credit cards so I could keep enough cash to pay payroll, right? I just want to encourage you, try to get ahead of this. So be more aggressive with sales in like August, September, October, and try to get a bigger backlog to carry you through that holiday season, right? And then you want to hire temporary employees that can help add to your ability to produce so that you can collect more and more cash from production during the slow periods, because you're not going to be collecting as much cash from the sales side of things because nobody's buying around Christmas and New Year's time, right? So that's number one. The second mistake that I made and that I learned from quickly was not planning production and setting production targets. This is one of the things that we really address with guys that are new to the Woodworking Business Accelerator program. They come in and maybe they haven't been super busy, but what they do is they just pull the next invoice off the top of the stack and they just work on it until they're done with it, right? And then they deliver it and then they pull the next invoice off the top of the stack. Well, if you want to scale a business, you have to start setting production targets and meeting those targets, which means I look at this invoice, I look at this order, and I see, okay, what is this product? How many hours do I anticipate to have in this product? And then based on that, I'm going to set a schedule and a deadline for myself on when I want to have this done, because that allows you to plan, when am I going to collect cash? When you start growing a woodworking business, cash flow management is one of the biggest challenges that you're going to face. And so one of the best ways to attack that and get in front of that is to plan production and know when you can collect cash when you're finishing orders, right? Then you can also see as you're working through that order, am I going to meet my timeline, or do we need to pull some extra hours? Do I need to find a way to do this in a more streamlined fashion, right? You can start giving more structure to production. So that's number 2. Number 3, this was a huge one, especially when I was starting out, was that I did not hire employees for lower level tasks. There was this pride that I had that nobody can do it as good as me. So I'm just going to keep doing everything. And I just burnt myself out, to be quite honest with you. So the number one employee hire that I think everybody needs to make as they're growing their woodworking business is they need to find that high school kid or that guy that you know from church that's just looking to make a little bit of side income, working 5, 10, or 15 hours a week, maybe in the evenings, that's coming in and that's helping you clean the shop. That's coming in and that is sanding for you, taking out the trash and organizing the tools and doing those sorts of things that you can pay 10 or 12 or $15 an hour. It depends on where you are, obviously, but a guy that's doing the lower level tasks so you can focus on building the stuff and finishing it, communicating with clients and customers. This is going to be super important that you have guys like this, okay? So that's number 3. Number 4, this was a huge one for me, and I'll walk you kind of through my failures with this, but it was not running paid ads consistently. What I did when I started my woodworking business is that I would turn on ads and I'd get a bunch of sales, but then I'd freak out because I had all these orders that I had to do, right? Well, then I would shut off ads and I'd quit running ads and I'd quit driving new sales to my business. Well, then I'd start working through all these orders and I'd get down to my last order or two and I'd be like, oh gosh, I don't have any more orders. And I'd turn on ads and I'd get a bunch of sales. And it was just a yo-yo all the time inside of my business of like, do I have sales or do I not have sales? Do I have orders or do I not have orders? And what you want to do in your business ideally is that you want to slowly scale them together. We want to always be running ads as best as we can, and we want to slowly be adding new orders to our production queue so that we can be scaling production and scaling advertising at the same time, ideally. And then lastly, the last mistake that I made when I really first started scaling my woodworking business, I was working in the business, but not working on the business. And this is one of the biggest challenges that guys just like you tend to face as they start scaling their woodworking business, is that you are building the stuff, and you're attached, your worth, your value is attached to, I am the best woodworker in my business, I'm the only woodworker in my business, if I don't do this stuff, how's it going to get done? And ideally what you need to transition to is not just seeing yourself as a woodworker, but as a business owner. You have to start developing business skills and getting outside of the business and looking in at it, as opposed to working inside of it day in and day out, doing the tasks that drive the business. And what's cool about this is that this transcends this business model. This is with every business. There's this element of getting outside the business and looking at what are the strategic moves that we need to make in order to grow, in order to increase revenue, in order to decrease costs, in order to be more profitable. And the most valuable part that you can bring to your business, if I can be quite frank with you, is not your ability to sand something or cut something on a table saw. It's going to be your ability to set vision, and it's going to be your ability to hire the right guys and the right team and drive the business forward, right? So with that being said, these are my top 5 mistakes that I made in my journey of scaling and growing my woodworking business. If you've made some mistakes, let me know in the comments below what have been your biggest blunders, what have been your biggest mistakes, and so we can all learn from each other. And also, if you've been watching this channel for a minute and you haven't yet subscribed, I would love for you to subscribe so that you can continue to get updates about new content that we drop every single week. And so with that being said, I'll leave you with a couple quick resources. Number one is the Handmade Business Secrets ebook. It's a completely free ebook that you can download. It's just the first link in the description below, and it's really outlines my journey of starting and failing and ultimately scaling to about $70,000 a month and then selling that business for multiple 6 figures. That's free to you. Go check it out. Number 2 is the Handmade Hero Academy. If you are brand new, you're a newbie, and you're trying to just get your feet underneath you and figure some stuff out, that's a low cost investment that's really going to give you the foundational principles that you need to start working on scaling your woodworking business, okay? And then lastly is, if you're really serious about this and you're really trying to take this to $15,000, $20,000, $30,000, $50,000 per month, check out the Woodworking Business Accelerator program, where we're working with tons of guys all across the world right now and helping them scale and grow their woodworking businesses predictably. So with that being said, guys, as always, I really do appreciate you. Love you. Hope you're having a great start to your new year, and I'll see you in the next one.